Hello, EastM geometry students. So this video is going to be going over the quadratic wrap-up quiz, and in this I'm going to show you how to do each problem so that you can prepare for the either the retake for the quiz or just to be better prepared whenever we deal with this material later on in the semester. So this is something you always have to go back to. So we're going to start off by finding the zeros using the three methods for this particular function f of x. And the reason I start with graphing is because when you're doing graphing, this one is most likely to work all the time. So go to y equals, well, turn your calculator on, go to y equals and make sure you type in 3x squared plus 13x minus 10 and hit graph. So the graph comes up and we don't quite see all of our parabola because some of it is below our screen, but that's not a problem. Just realize that the two important things are the x-intercepts on the x-axis, which are our zeros. Oh, paint program's not kicking in. Which are our zeros. That's better. So we're going to use the calculator to calculate that. So second and trace for calculate. And again, we're looking for the zeros, number 2. So it's asking us for a left bound. Now right now my cursor is kind of blinking right around that point, and that's not a good thing. We need to actually make sure that we are to the left of it. So notice that the parabola goes up and to the left. So by clicking left, it moved up away from that x-intercept. I'm going to hit enter. Now it wants the right bound. So in order to go right, I have to go down as well. So I'm going to click right, and that's going to move me down to the right. And I'm going to do that as well. So by doing the left bound and right bound, we're actually doing an above and a below. But the right and the left is the one that matters most to them. And the guess doesn't matter at all for our purposes. And we find out that this 0 is located at -5, 0. Or x equals -5. But we have two x-intercepts. So since we have two x-intercepts, we're going to do this process all over again. And I know the cursor disappears for a little bit. It will come back. It's okay. So there it is. Now it wants a left bound. So notice from the x-intercept down and to the left. Okay, I'm left. Enter. And now it wants me to go right. So I'm going to have to go up and to the right. And now that I've done both of those, the guess kind of doesn't matter, but if you want to guess, you're more than welcome to. So we get 0.66666 continuous. So you can either write this as 0.6, and I do apologize, my mouse works not the greatest tonight, 0, or you can say 2/3. 0. And if we're doing things right, all three of our answers will match. So right here we've got our two answers so far, and let's hope that these all match up as well. So factoring, do this in a different color. We're going to do A times C. And remember that A is the first term of our quadratic, or it's the one with the squared, so that's 3. And then it's going to be multiplied to the second term of our, I'm sorry, not the second term, our last term, the constant term of our quadratic, and that's -10. And this will end up equaling -30. So we're looking for factors of -30 that add up to 13. And of course we're going to be using Mr. O's favorite little toy in mathematics, and that is the area model to do this. That one was even so bad I couldn't stand it. I'm going to live with that one. Okay, so got our area model. The first box is going to be 3x squared. Then we have our bottom right hand box is going to be -10. Because again, that's our A and that's our C. the diagonal, this middle set of boxes, this is where we're using the A times C. So again, what are the factors of 30 that, because of this negative sign, subtract to equal 13, or 13 apart? And those two numbers are 15 and 2. And since it's a positive 13, it's going to be 15 minus 2. So 15x and negative 2x. And at this point, we're going to find out what our common factors in each row and column are. So on this first column, the only thing that goes into both is x. And the second column, the thing that goes into both 15 and 10 is 5. And since the 15 is positive, we're going to take the positive sign. So on our first row, 3 goes into 15 and 3, and x goes into both x squared and x. And finally on the bottom row, 2 goes into both 2 and 10, but since the 2 is negative, it's got to be a negative 2. So our two factors are 3x minus 2. Jumping the gun there. And that has to equal 0. And our second factor is x plus 5 equals 0. So after we do inverse operations, add 2 to both sides, divide by 3, x equals, hey, big surprise, 2/3. Again, it should because, well, it already did. And when x plus 5 equals 0, that is x equals negative 5. Okay, quadratic. One more color. So we have negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So again, make sure the fraction goes completely under the numerator and that the tail on the radical covers up everything. And of course, some of you sang that going to Pop Goes the Weasel, as Miss Elu taught you and several other teachers. So when we plug all of these in, so the opposite of 13, which is negative 13, plus or minus square root 13 squared. Now remember, if that's ever a negative, put it in parentheses because your calculator will have a mistake. Minus 4 times, there's my times, 3 times negative 10. All over 2 times 3. And I'm going to go ahead and say, because I'm me and I'm overly confident that my first two answers are right, that this one should also be x equals negative 5 and x equals 2/3. Alright, so bottom problems. Based on the function, how many roots? This, guys, is super simple. Threw these in as kind of gimme problems. But the answer is simply, what is the largest exponent? That will tell you how many roots the function has. So a is 4, b is 9, c is 7. That straightforward. Okay, back page. Use the table graph to write the function in various forms. And of course, the easiest thing to start with is that we're going to start with vertex form, because honestly, right there you can see the vertex, or right here in the table you can also see the vertex. So the vertex form, x minus h, well, what is h? It's 1, so x minus 1, plus k, which is the y, so that's plus negative 9. And just to double check to see if we need to adjust our growth factor, our a, which would go in front of the parentheses, let's pick 3. If I go 3 minus 1, oh, and I forgot something. Squared, shame on me. So now let's try it. 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 squared would be 4. And 4 plus a negative 9 would be negative 5. All right, good. So our A is correct. And our vertex form is right. So standard form, because that's going to be the easiest one to do next. If I take my area model, remember if it squared, we take them, we multiply something by itself. So I'm going to do x minus 1 times x minus 1 because we're squaring it down here in the vertex form and we're just going to convert. So this one is x squared minus x plus 1. So if we simplify everything, x squared minus x, so minus 2x plus 1. But that's not everything. We've got to bring this minus 9 up. So now that we're going to combine like terms, x squared minus 2x minus 8. So now to factored form. And factored form, a times c, 1 times negative 8, just like we did on the previous page. So that's going to be negative 8. So the factors of negative 8 that add up to negative 2 are going to be 4 and 2. Since we're subtracting, so x squared, going to have 4x, negative 8, and I did say 2. But in order to get that negative 2, we're going to have this be a negative 4. So again, your factors, what goes into both, x minus 4 and x plus 2. So our factored form, factor on top, x minus 4. And our factor on the side of our box, x plus 2. And there are all 3 of your forms. Good luck studying, and see you guys in class, and hope you do well on your retake.